Is it recording?
Yeah.
Oh shit, alright.
Why is that making you nervous?
Sorta.
Hey everyone, this is Curb, and I bring you another standard match. Today we are going to be featuring a new deck from set 2. This is going to be myself on the left, playing Rotovisor. And of course today we're going to be going up against Kairi once again. So, funnily enough, this is my second time going up against this Kairi player with a Brandt Gate deck, which is, you know, not super odd, but kind of weird that it happened twice. Anyways, let's go ahead and show off the potential of Rotovisor. Those of you who have been like chilling out in my streams might have seen me play testing this deck like for the last couple weeks, and I do definitely think that the deck is a little bit better than people give it credit for, but it definitely has like a ton of glaring flaws that just kind of need to be patched at this point. And once they are, then the deck is probably going to be like a fairly solid deck in its own right. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the game. So we've got some very basic, me going first, riding up, Kairi riding up to that, of course, playing the Ballista ride line, swinging in, taking the first damage, because unfortunately Rotovisor is a deck where you can't really afford to guard early. I mean, you can in some sense, because like the longer the game goes on, you still do have a decently okay grind game. But honestly, you do kind of want to just be taking a lot of damage early on. But anyways, we see myself riding into the grade 2 that enables you to search out an arena, directly adding it to your hand. We see me adding the Combine Rusher, and then of course the very good combo with the Combine Rusher is you play it, you put something behind your Vanguard so that your opponent has to take it, and then you give the arena effect to your Vanguard so that when your Vanguard actually hits, you do get to countercharge, so that makes that Combine Rusher completely free. You just get an absolutely free body for nothing, which is something that the deck desperately does kind of need, because it does make a decent amount of advantage on its own, but the problem with that is that, you know, it tends to run out as soon as like your rear guards run out. Your gas tends to run out too. So we're going to be swinging in here, thankfully not hitting to any defensives, so we're going to swing in all 3 attacks. That last attack calling a 15k shield. Of course, we probably don't want to guard with some of our pieces, even though it's just like a 5k shield. But still, getting rid of this much shield value already in the first turn, basically pushing 2 damage and getting a 15k out, looking pretty good for my part. Anyways, of course, riding into the grade 2 Ballista is going to be searching out that Crossing Illumerates. Playing is just going to allow you to draw those 2 cards, giving the Vanguard an extra 5k, so a very nice pressure swing there. Swing there. Anyways, we do see, of course, you know, play the Crossing Illumerates, you got to draw those 2 cards. Very basic, traditional Ballista things here. Gonna get the 5k, and then of course draw the 2 cards off of the order skill, and then of course the grade 2 Ballista as well. Probably just deciding what we want to do next here. Honestly, you could probably take out some of my rear guards in this instance, which is not a bad idea because, you know, Rotovisor is very rear guard centric, so any form of like disruption to the rear guards really puts a nail in its coffin. Honestly, a lot of things put a nail in Rotovisor's coffin, but you know, it still has potential. I still believe in the deck. But we do see the Strega coming on down, of course, just using it, calling out to Iuka. Not a bad call whatsoever. Nice 18k column there. You're just going to be swinging in at that rear guard, and be swinging the Vanguard in at mine. I do want the second damage, so I'm just going to take this. He's going to get a crit here, so that's a little bit more than I was hoping for. But, you know, in addition to that, you see 2 PGs going into damage zone. My Elementaria, which is very good in this matchup, and of course just a regular standard PG. Discarding a second Combine Rusher, probably not going to be using it, just because I do technically have 1 extra CB, but I don't really want to be using that. I have other things. One of the issues with this deck also is kind of you don't have enough front row rear guard circles, which is like you have a lot of things that are really good attackers. You have things like Abbott and Robust, you got Combine Rusher, these attackers that get really big and really good numbers, but you also have the Compassionate Mechanic, which you want in the front row. You want her to be there to, like, you know, get you that card draw, add power to your rear guards, and, you know, a way of actually using your energy, because unfortunately we do not actually play the energy cyclers, the grade 2 ride deck ones, just because, you know, you do actually want to use the energy for her because she does get you technically a little bit more value. Thankfully, I do actually have a second compassionate mechanic in my hand. We see the grade 2 whiffing on the top 7 skill, which is very typical actually, because it only searches for arenas, which means that you're only ever going to have 3 targets for it. And it also only searches for grade 3 Rotovisors, which also you only have 3 copies of in the deck. So it has only 6 targets, which is like, you're going to miss 99 times out of 10. Like, most of the time, you're going to miss. And if you manage to hit it, then you're just lucky, I guess. Because we don't have any other grade 3 Rotovisors, which I hope is something that they change in the future. Anyways, getting back into the match, we see one of my new tech cards that I've really been liking. This, I've been calling him Clay Doll Mechanic. Basically, on boost, you can EB2 in order to give the thing he's boosting extra 5k. Now, that's not 5k until the end of the battle. That's 5k until the end of the turn, which is why I think this card is actually pretty solid in this deck. Because if that attack hits, you literally get the skill for free because you can EC2 and basically just get the cost back, assuming you don't have anything that you want to countercharge. Of course, using the mechanic, the compassionate mechanic, energy blasting the 3, so a total of 5 from that battle. But of course, it doesn't really matter because we were at 6, I think. Because we went first. So using that up, giving the extra 5k to the grade 2 Rotovisor. Now here is the biggest misplay of the game. So I swing in at the Vanguard and I say 21, which is actually incorrect because that grade 1 does get an extra 5k since I do have 2 set orders. So that is why my opponent is going to guard for 35 here as a 2 to pass, and the reason why I'm not shotgunning this crit onto my Vanguard, because I did the math wrong and I thought this was a 2 to pass, but technically what he guarded with here is a 1 to pass. But since I gave him the wrong number, I didn't even realize my mistake, so I'm just going to give him all the effects to that grade 2 Rotovisor there. I'm going to be, of course, using my Glanzel's skill, standing 2 rear guards, and honestly, it feels really good to restand 2 rear guards at the same time. It just like reminds me of that scene in V series. Well, not that one scene, but like every scene. If you guys know the little clicky effect that always happens every time they stand something, that's just like ingrained into my mind. I love that little sound effect. I wish they would release it, but they're not going to. Anyways, so we're going to be swinging in here with 2 more attacks here, both hitting for pretty magic numbers. This compassionate mechanic is at 20, and of course this Glanzel is going to be swinging for 30, which is going to be calling down a PG. So basically from this one turn, we pushed 2 damage and kind of just shredded the Kairi player's hand down to 3 cards. We do also see me almost forgetting to use the grade 1 skill, which I do just like proc here, because I do know the guy, so we're buddies, so it doesn't really change anything because it would have been at the end of the battle anyway. It doesn't change my attack patterns. Like adding a grade 2 or grade card isn't going to change anything. So everything is just like the same. So we've got Kairi here. I'm feeling pretty good. I have 3 damage thanks to the Glanzel and the Compassionate Mechanic along with my Twin Drive. My 1 card hand has been bumped up to like I think 6 cards now, or 5 or 6 cards. And looking at the Kairi's hand, they got 3 cards in their hand, and that's not even going to be enough to fill the board unless they have something like the grade 3 Stride Fodder Dragon to draw another card. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, yeah, I don't have a ton of shield value in my hand. I don't have a PG, but realistically, like, it's gonna take a lot for him to finish me this turn. And if I can get back to my turn, chances are I already have my 2 open CB because he let the one of the attacks hit, which if you notice I did that really well. I put the crit on the thing that I knew that he wasn't going to take the crit, so I made sure to put the arena effect onto the one that was 1 damage because it's more likely that he would take that one. But anyways, as I was saying, I feel confident if I can get back to my turn, game is probably over. I've got 5 attacks. Even if like I lose like 1 or 2 of my rear guards, I should still be able to create a decent enough board. Even if I'm just restanding twice, then like you're gonna have to bank on a defensive because you're gonna have 4 cards at the end of this, or I guess it depends on what you bounce back. 4 or 5, one of them being like a 5k shield. So chances are not looking in your favor, especially if I can keep this compassion mechanic around. And I do have the combine rusher, which is going to be pretty big. But I'm going to guard a 2 to pass here. We're going to get a critical trigger on the first check, and unfortunately a second critical trigger. So that is going to be the end of the game as I take 3 damage and just instantly die. But if we take a look at my hand, I kept calculating this in my head, going it over and over. I have the intercept, I've got the 20k shield, I've got OT. In this situation, I think the only way that I did lose was to a double crit. Like, literally, if he had gotten a crit and then just another trigger, I think that realistically, like, that wouldn't have been enough because we saw double defensive there. So chances are, without that second critical trigger, I probably would have lived and maybe clapped back. I did forget about this draw from Strega, so that's 5 cards in hand to withstand 5 attacks. With 2 intercepts, but that is going to be the match. A little unfortunate, but you know, that is Cardfight Vanguard. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do all those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.